I'm Cyclon, and today we take a look at the Toxic Rain Trickster. This build is quite awesome to be honest. If you would need to put numbers on it for the different categories like bossing, mapping, and survivability, I would give it a, let's say, 7 to 8 out of 10 for bossing, 9 out of mapping, and 8 for survivability. Now, it has no 10s out of 10s for the simple reason of this is a very good Allrounder build, and Allrounder usually never excel in one step. It cannot, while it's awesome in clearing, it cannot compete with Headhunter stacking insane insta-kill builds or those super crazy, super stacked up group mappers that just clear screens and screens. But if you compare it with normal builds that don't have 50 headhunter stacks on them, a caustic arrow covers about the whole screen. So for, let's say you want to clear Legion, this can clear Legion with ease. Run around, fire some caustic arrows, see a boss, fire some toxic rain, down. For bossing, this is a damage over time build. It cannot one-shot any boss. It can kill them very quickly, it can even cap out in damage, when invested enough of course, but it cannot one-shot a boss because it's a immunity phase or they do a teleport that usually removes the dot. So it's not the perfect bosser, but that doesn't mean it cannot kill bosses. It can kill Cyrus, it can kill Maven, it can kill Conquerors, it can kill Shaper and Elder. I've seen that, I've done that. Sadly I've only recorded the Conquerors for this one because the Maven were in other leagues. And lastly, for survivability, this has a really good survivability against elemental and chaos damage. Sadly, the survivability against physical is based on your evasion, and physical spells is based on you dodging. It is a fast build, you have flame dash, you have withering steps, you will need to dodge spells like the fire orbs or a baron shotgun or however that one's called yourself. Now for content that I would recommend with this, you can do pretty much anything. What I like to do is some of the most simpler mapping strats, because it's for the really hardcore mapping strats, you would preferably like a headhunter, but as it's a damage over type chaos based build, a headhunter is not the best build for this build. You can use it simply for the movement speed and extra health, but you will not gain too much more damage out of a headhunter. That's why I would say, like, if you want to farm Expedition, Blight, Breach, Harvest, Conquerors, Elder is fairly awesome with this, Uber Elder is okay, they don't teleport too much. Synthesis bosses are doable with this. I think outside of tiered invitation and hidden invitation, this can do every boss. Oh yeah, it's also super for getting challenges or killing Aziri. They are outside of the hardest content. I can recommend this. Should even be doable to do a 5-way or 4-way Legion with ease. Now for the Uber one I cannot say, but outside of those super Uber contents, this one is really ideal for most content. Let's take a look at the tree. So I chosen the Trickster with the main Ascendency. You can also go with Champion or Raider. I will come to that after I looked at the normal tree. For the Trickster Ascendency, we went for Patient Reaper for recovery and kill and a lot of recovery from other sources as long as we killed something. And Prolonged Pain. Prolonged Pain gets a skill effect duration and more damage over time. It's absurd how much damage we gain from one single node. About 22%. And next we take Swift Killer for even more damage. We gain frenzy and power charges on kill, have a cap of 4. With the +1 we get from Frenetic, we add a total of 5, that's 9. So that's 9 times 5, that's 45% increased damage, which does scale our damage over time. And we also get the mobility from the frenzy charges, and lastly we have Weave the Arcane. It's surprisingly how good this is, to not have to worry that you run out of mana to flame dash out of a big fight, or flame dash out of a Baron steal your mana field, and you get increased attack speed. So that is really good. And now, on top of all that, on top of increased attack speed and free mobility spells, and the free more mana, I guess not really free, it's an Ascendency, you have a chance to recover 10% of mana when you use a skill. So every 3 to 4 skills, you regain 10% of your mana. Oh wait, we are using less than 10% of our mana, so basically you regain all your mana every few skill uses. Combining with mana on hit or a mana flask. Like outside of bosses we don't have to use this. Even with that little mana and using 30 mana per cast, we are almost always full on mana. Now with 3.16 they introduced Masteries, so let's take a look at what we want there first. We want Effect of Wizard, and we want Chaos Damage over time multiplier per Chaos Rest. We take a look at our resistances. I'm at 72. Sorry for that. We are at 72, so that is 40, 18 Chaos or damage over time multiplier. For 1 point, that is a lot. Of course we have to invest in Chaos Resistance, but who doesn't want to invest in Survivability? Next we want flat max life and increased max life. Now this does give reduced life recovery rate, but because of our Ascendancy, 50% more life or increased life recovery rate, we have still an increase, because 50 minus 10 are still 40. We also want increased evasion rating from our body armor. We have one with 17k, the other one with 16k, not 17, sorry, 1600 or 1700, so 100% increase from that is double. That is a lot of flat evasion rating we can scale with Grace. And we want efficiency and Grace efficiency. And lastly we want more skill effect duration, which is a huge damage multiplier for us. And this is a bit optional. Life and mana flask gain 1 charge every 3 seconds. Now it can sometimes happen that a boss like Cyrus teleports around too much and he keeps removing the dot stacks on him. So you would have to use your mana flask and it could run out. To prevent that, I spent 1 point in here. If I would go for min-max, I might not have to do that anymore because I will kill everything even quicker. But for now I put that in there, and I think it was fairly well spent point, because on long boss fights, in case they teleport, you have your life flask and you have your mana flask. You don't need the other flask because you want to evade anything after all. For the normal tree, I will head into passive building to show directly what we actually go for with leveling up. We start by taking the chaos nodes, physical and chaos nodes, and go for Fangs of the Viper. Next we'll go to Blood Drinker, take Resourcefulness and Wasting, and then we make our way to Hunter's Gambit. Now Hunter's Gambit is actually really good. It has literally just improvements for us. Increased damage over time with both skills, we use about Toxic Raid, check. Chaos damage over time multiplier, check. Increased skill effect duration, perfect. This node alone gives so much damage. After that we head up, we will want Atrophy, but we're first going to take Growth and Decay and then Written in Blood. Finally we're going to take Atrophy, then we make our way downwards. We can first take Revenge of the Hunted, or first pass to Heart of the Oak, depending if you need life quickly or you have some time left. Because this one's also regenerating a bit of extra life when you use the life flask. And then we take Aspect of the Eagle. We move for our next life node. Oh yeah, life node here, or quickly life node again Blood Siphon, and we can then take Trickery for a bit of easy damage and intelligence. After that we want to move to the left. We finally want Exceptional Performance, and we do want the Skill Effect Duration. We also take Reflexes in the life node here. And then we go down for 6 skin, and next would be getting our hand on Wind Dancer, and we're going to make some changes on the tree. Now if you take a look here, what we're basically changing is a bit of efficiency on the passing. We take 2 nodes instead of 4 here, and we save 2 nodes and take 1 here. So it keeps up 3 nodes we can use for Charisma. Then we take up some Masteries, and we can finally go for our cluster. For the cluster, we are looking for Wicked Pole, Unwavering Evil, Unholy Grace. These are the best damage combination. They have all 30% chaos damage. And here we got Skill Effect Duration, Attack and Cast Speed, and Ignored from Stun, so you can keep firing your Toxic Rain even if you're stunned. That's pretty great. And for there, it's really just, okay, now we can go for min-maxing. Min-maxing will take form of a secondary cluster with the same large nodes, and then we would go for 3 small ones. Wicked Pole, Flow of Life. Now again, this is min-maxing. You would need a level 100 character to get the full tree, and you would need 3 of these clusters. Lastly, I guess take a look at this. We want a frontline jewel that gives us Veteran Awareness. Veteran Awareness gives us, whenever we use a guard skill, so we have a cast when damage taken with a guard skill setup, we gain 10 max res, and we gain physical damage reduction while affected by it. And when it runs out, we take 20% more damage. And the idea is that when it runs out, we are affected by our Wind Dancer and in maps by Kintsugi again, so that we have the less damage taken even out the more damage taken. And when we get hit again, we have all that evasion rating on top of the increased defenses to keep us alive against the next hits. So let's take a look at the Raider and the Champion. Raider will be, okay, I just want the speed. I just want to map, I just want to be as fast as possible. So we take increased onslaught effect and onslaught, and we take the frenzy marks for more movement speed, more attack speed. Now this would be a damage loss if you take here a lock. This is with the same gear. We do lose, if it now works, we do lose a bit of damage. Oh wait, here 5.2 million down to 4.4 million. That is the damage. So this is again, this is more for a mapping choice. And Champion is more for a tanky choice because we lose even more damage. We go from 5.2 to 4.2, but it would give us a lot more tankiness. Now why then, if the one is faster and the other one is more tankier? As for the Ascendency nodes, what we will take first, we will take Unstoppable Hero and Fortitude. This would also be again 20% attack speed, and it would be a bit of survivability. We have the fortification stack, so that is less physical damage taken. Next would be Inspirational. For Inspirational we have more aura effect, so that is a bit more damage. Also we get a free banner, that is more mana. And on top of the free banner we can just place it to regenerate some life if we do want to. And lastly we'll take Conqueror, again for more survivability. And this is for all content. Why then Trickster? Well, Trickster because duo setup. Assuming you have a duo partner, either an Aura bot or a Curse bot, you don't really need more speed, because if you're too fast, your support cannot keep up with you, or you don't want to, you get your tankiness from the support. So we go with this for the most damage we can get. Our duo gives us the needed survivability for the hard content, and together we destroy it. For the skills, we want a 6-link Toxic Rain. Now it can be Phantasmal or a bit cheaper Anomalous. Phantasmal would be 2 additional arrows, so this is for when you run something like simulacrums. I prefer the phantasmal one. We fire 2 additional arrows, we cover more area, but the overlap is still the same. Anomalous would be more for a bossing setup when we want less arrows, but we definitely want to kill everything as quick as possible. Then we want a level 2 above Awakened Visage Projectile and Void Manipulation. If you take a look, there is a huge damage increase jumping from level 4 to level 5 because we use it in a +3 bow. We get it with a level 2 to level 5. Suddenly we are from 53 to 59, and Void Manipulation is even more awesome because we go from 38 to 39, but we get a +1. Plus skill gems, or rather additional level to Toxic Rain, are huge damage. If you take a look at this, here we would be at 3.2. If I increase it by 1, we go through 3.5. This is really just absurd how much we get out of it. That's why we also want an empowered to it. And we want a Mirage Archer and Efficiency. The Mirage Archer we take with the Virgin for skill effect duration, and the Efficiency Anomalous for skill effect duration. You can replace Mirage Archer with Concentrated Effect. This is again if you want this Anomalous setup for saying, okay, I want all the damage. With the Concentrated Effect you go from your 3.5 average score setup to 4.5. This requires, if I recall correctly, a 15% anomalous concentrated effect combined with the anomalous toxic rain, or a 20% anomalous concentrated effect with a normal toxic rain with 20 quality. Other way would be getting 39 increase AoE to gain bigger spore stacking. But with when you want to go for really good single target, you would have to go for the concentrated effect. Now again, this was a mix for clearing because I wanted to run Simulacrum with this. So I went for the Phantasmal and no concentrated effect. For mapping, I used Caustic Arrow on top. So I just fired a Toxic Rain, let my Mirage Archer shoot the rest, and then fired a Caustic Arrow. Anything that survived afterwards got another salvo of Toxic Rain. Or Salve? I don't know the pronunciation. Caustic Arrow, we don't care about the quality, just high level. We do want efficiency, it should be level 20 though. Then Swift Affliction, in our case, any level, and Arrow Nova. It is not worth to get a secondary Awakened Void Manipulation for this, except if you're truly min-maxing. For Swift and Arrow Nova, any level are good. We don't need any alt quality here too, so we could put 4 Awakened support gems on the Caustic Arrow, but it's not really needed to get Void Manipulation and Vicious Projectile, as for the really big bosses we're going to Socket South. This is really just for normal mapping, and there this setup is enough. For the bossing instead, we're going to use a secondary Toxic Rain. We want, in this case, any Toxic Rain. I choose the Anomalous for the increased damage for this one. Then we want a Withering Touch support, which gives us chance to wither. Normally, in normal maps we use Wither Totems. But for super hard bossing we can use Withering Touch Toxic Rain Totems. We have 5 of those. If we consider this would be the full damage one Toxic Rain does over the duration of 3 seconds, because I set the count to 3. We have a 3 second skill duration. With this we go up to 15. So that's another 2 million damage just from, oh well, I guess if we just take a look at here, yeah, 14.9, let's say 15. That's another 2 million damage from the 5 Toxic Rain Totems with Withering Touch that also apply other Withering. We use the Totem Ballista multiple focus ballista setup, so they fire with us. Our attack rate is 2.71 to 3, depending on how fast we go, what other stuff we are using, or if we have an Aura bot. So we fire these 5, also 3 per second, and then we have efficiency for a tiny bit of damage. For the auras, we do want to be affected by Defiance Banner, Malevolence, and Grace. For bosses, instead of Grace, we can use Skitterbots. Or when we are supported by an Allrounder or anybody who picks up Grace for us, we can also use Skitterbots. If they also use Defiance Banner, I don't really know what else there is to take. We are already using Aspect of the Spider, so if they use the other stuff, I guess you can use any Herald just for the sake of having a Herald. But I think this works best with the curse bot that just has your Grace for you, so you use Defiance Banner, Malevolence, Skitterbots, and Aspect of the Spider. Just what I've been doing. When you are solo, you do want to have your own Despair. When you are, of course, with the support can use it so you have less buttons to press. We are using the cast when damage taken setup. Like I said, I used a level 2 so I can get Steel Skin to level 40. This is again so we can use Veteran Awareness. Then we want Flame Dash, Blood Rage, Withering Stab. Those can pretty much go anywhere. We don't really need them in a specific spot. We do use Withering Totems. Level 1 or level 2 is enough. There's not really a difference. There's just a tiny increase in AoE. And yeah, we just want the Withering stacks on single targets. So we use this when we don't do big bosses, where we use our secondary Toxic Rain. And lastly, we have Aspect of the Spider. So again, if you are in-game and you say, okay, I want to do a big boss, I swap my Cherubi in my Kintsugi because I assume I will dodge everything he fires at me, and I use my Skitterbots. So I disable Grace, put Skitterbots in, and then place down my Withering Totems and fire like there is no tomorrow on the boss. And as you can see, there are a lot of spores on the ground. With the skills being done, let's take a look at the items. This is more like a, not a ultimate magical dreamland landscape, but quite a big. I have the bossing and mapping set up. Now for the bossing, we are using Cherubims like I did, or I recommend using it, and for the mapping we use the Kintsugi. The other items are the same, we don't want to swap too much. So we start with a +3 bow. The bow has a +1. We want to roll the... If you want to make it yourself, you will need to start with a damage over time multiplier. Then craft suffixes can be multimod cannot roll attacks. Exalt Slam, Hunter Orb Slam to get the +1 to socketed gems and increase chaos damage over time. Most of the time you will get a tier 3 with it is a 3 out of 10. Or wait. 1 out of 10 you get a tier 1, 2 out of 10 you get a tier 2, 3 out of 10 you get a tier 3, and then 4 out of 10 you get a tier 4 chaos damage over time multiplier. So each increase in tier also increases the value of the bow. And after you did the slams, you want to say, okay, remove crafts, multimod, +2, and chaos damage over time multiplier, and the bow is done. I think they used the old bow before the changes. Would have been the best bow would have been like a +4 bow, but that one is already pretty good, and you don't really need any further upgrades like this. So this would be the first big upgrade you should go for. Then we want a double damage over time quiver. This can be any base. I put artillery quiver as a base because min-max, stream, totem placement speed is the only really implicit we care about. The other one would be the ornate quiver for a socket so you can put your portal gem in, but the bar is already quite full, so really quiver base does not matter. For the helmet, we want a hunter helmet with -9 chaos resistance. I put Aspect of the Spider here too, because I didn't have any other space on my gear. You can put it wherever you have a free space. It is a suffix. Then you want resistances if possible, life if possible, and evasion if possible. But the most important thing is either Toxic Rain, increased damage, or Toxic Rain +1 arrow, depending on what you want to do. If you want the most amount of boss damage, I would recommend the +1 arrow combined with concentrated effect again. If you just want my variant for, hey, I want to run the Simulacrum, I want to run pretty much anything the game has to offer with one build with with almost no changes, I would say take the increased damage. For the armor, like I said, we want Cherubins for the increased chaos damage for bosses, and we want Kintsugi for survivability for mapping. The damage over time gloves, there's pretty much any base. I think the just Slink base is better, but that one works too. We want chaos damage over time, evasion rating resistances, and of course life. Boots are pretty simple, we don't even need Redeemer. We just want, honestly, movement speed, resistances, life. What we can do is either with Redeemer Influence Onslaught, or we can craft movement speed plus Onslaught on kill chance. Of course, the craft would reduce our possible maximum movement speed. As we are a dodge based build, that is not the best thing, but it is okay if needed. Or the pricey option would be the Redeemer Influence, Onslaught on kill. Our crit chance is so little, so the elusive on crit is not worth it, we will just go for the Onslaught. Now for the amulet, let's go really deep into the magical dreamland. A +2 amulet with T1 dot multi and a T2 life is unaffordable. For most people at least. So what I instead would recommend is dot multi, life, and +1. And then hopefully resistances, but resistances might make it too pricey again. For the amulet and rings, we do want to use chaos catalysts. And yeah, for the rings, it is the same. We have life, resistances, and we use Iolite base, so you have chaos implicit, which is more damage. We also want an empty prefix to craft minus cost. And lastly, the belt, we want resistances, life, and we wanted hunter based for more chaos damage. The Abyss Jewel, we can just take life and resistances again. Here you have a pretty good spot to fix your resistances. On top of that, I did need to use the Apocalypse Curio Jewel, which also had resistances. Now in general, for your rare jewels, you want life and attack speed, and then either dot multi with chaos, or projectile damage. And like I said, you can use one for resistances because they give so much damage with the damage over time. We don't really want to spend too much on resistances here. We would rather pick up damage over time multiplier or projectile damage for the cheap variant. And lastly, again, we want one front line, and we do want 1 to 2 large cluster jewels with Unholy Grace, Unwavering Evil, and Wicked Paul. With the items being done, the skills being done, and the tree being done, I also mentioned the boss swap. This is pretty much everything there is to this build, so let's take a quick summary. This build can do pretty much all content. It's reflect immune, it has amazing clear, it has quite a good base speed, it has a pretty good bossing speed, of course not instant, but quite fast. It can do invitations, it can do bosses. It should be good for Legion, it should be good for Blight, it should be good for Breach, it should be good for Expedition, it should be good for Harvest, it should be good for Ritual, it should be good for Ultimatum if it comes back. It can do the Menagerie stuff, and there's pretty much nothing this cannot do. Of course, it does not excel at anything perfectly. There will always be a better build that is solely focused for that aspect that is better, but this is one of the best overall builds, and it gives so much free choice. The gear upgrades are all visible. Whenever you make an upgrade, you can feel the damage increase a bit, or you can feel you survive better, you can feel yourself faster, you can feel yourself more tanky, and it has so much diversity. You can take 3 different ascendancies. You could even go witch on an occultist, but that really needs a lot of gear. So I did not cover that in this one because that would be even more magical dreamland, because you will literally need everything min-maxed for that to feel proper. All that being said, I hope this was helpful to you. I did put quite a bit of effort into making this video this time, into making it look a bit better, look a bit smoother, and have some background videos. So if you watched till now, I would really appreciate if you could leave a like and leave a comment if this was good, or if you have any recommendation how to make this better, how to add something, maybe I forgot something. And if you haven't, I would also really appreciate a subscription. All that being, yeah, it is called subscription in English. All that being said, have a wonderful day.